preguntas de TOEFL durante la semana?
No.
Ok.
Hola, buenas tardes con todos y con todos. Vamos a iniciar nuestra sesión del taller de preparación para el GRE. Mi nombre es Laura Carrión, soy de la Comisión Fulbright. Les voy primero a dar como una pequeña introducción de por qué necesitamos tener este resultado del GRE para postular a la beca de maestrías y doctorados. Y luego Juan Carlos nos dará un poco más de información acerca de cómo es el examen, cómo prepararnos y cuál es más o menos la metodología que sigue este examen. Con respecto al examen, primero en general les voy a contar qué nivel de inglés se necesita nuevamente para postular a nuestras becas de maestría y doctorados. Necesitamos mínimo un nivel B2, así como lo dijimos ya en nuestra sesión anterior de la semana pasada. Esto puede ser comprobado mediante un resultado de TOEFL o IELTS oficial o con la prueba institucional de inglés. Y necesitamos un puntaje de GRE. No hay un puntaje mínimo, pero usualmente el resultado promedio de las personas seleccionadas es entre 300 y 306. Siempre nos preguntan, y si es que, por ejemplo, lo que yo quiero seguir en la universidad en la que quiero no requieren el GRE, no importa, nosotros igual lo necesitamos porque este es un requisito para postular a su beca. ¿Ya? Si es que no han rendido la versión oficial, no tienen resultados oficiales de GRE, nosotros ofrecemos una versión institucional de este examen, de la que ya les va a hablar Juan Carlos, y estos exámenes son virtuales entre el 8 y 12 de abril. La fecha límite de inscripción es el 28 de marzo. Y si es que necesitan más información, pueden escribir a este correo que está en sus pantallas de evaluaciones@englishhouse.com. Una vez más, se debe rendir este examen para poder postular. Esto es una parte de sus requisitos. No hay un puntaje mínimo y se puede optar por rendir esta versión institucional. Y quería también recordarles acerca de nuestras siguientes sesiones informativas del 22 de febrero. Por esta misma vía vamos a tener el taller de cómo redactar el CV y los ensayos que se requiere para postular a las becas, maestrías y doctorados. Y el 13 de marzo también tenemos una sesión informativa acerca de la experiencia Fulbright, en donde tendremos becarios y becarias que nos contarán cómo les está yendo en su experiencia en Estados Unidos. Y por último, también quiero recordarles las asesorías que tenemos. Este es un espacio abierto para responder preguntas puntuales acerca de su postulación. De 4:30 a 6 p.m., ustedes en nuestra página web, en la parte de asesorías, pueden encontrar este calendario y lo que necesitan hacer es hacer clic y unirse en esta sesión. Las siguientes fechas están en su pantalla. Y si es que tienen alguna duda, la podemos despejar en esa sesión que es además personalizada, entonces atendemos una por una a las personas de acuerdo a cómo se hayan ido conectando. Finalmente, estos son nuestros contactos. Para cualquier información general del programa de becas, pueden escribir a este correo, programassistant@fulbright.org.es, y también siempre les invitamos a que nos sigan en nuestras redes para que puedan tener información actualizada acerca de calendarios, fechas, recordarles el tema de los talleres. Entonces, siempre tenemos ahí toda la información. Con esta información les dejo con Juan Carlos, quien nos va a dar información y pautas para saber cómo rendir el examen GRE. También les recuerdo que pueden poner sus preguntas en el chat y las iremos respondiendo a lo largo de las preguntas que son un poco más generales, las respondemos ahí, y las que son un poco más específicas acerca del GRE se las pasaré a Juan Carlos para que nos pueda ayudar. Hola Juan Carlos, bienvenido.
Hola, buenas tardes con todos. Buenas tardes, Lau. Bueno, vamos a hablar un poco de GRE. Esta charla es en inglés. Para rendir este examen, obviamente deben hablar inglés, entonces toda mi charla va a ser en inglés. Si tienen preguntas, pueden hacerlas en español, eso no es problema, pero la presentación va a ser en inglés, ¿vale? Eh, entonces, GRE General Test. Well, we're going to talk today about what is the test, the the details of the sections, and there are three sections that you need to know about: how to register for the test, either the official one or the unofficial one, and some tips for test days. Okay, so what is the GRE? Okay, it reflects the kind of thinking you'll do in today's demanding graduate school programs, including business and law. As Laura said, some of you will not need it for your applications, but it's required for the scholarship. So it's something you have to take, right? Um, and the idea of it, it's for you to demonstrate these skills that have been acquired over a long period of time, since pretty much high school. Okay, so it's nothing specific, it's mainly general. The new version, it started in 2023, and it was reduced in half. So it was 4 hours before, now it's only two, starting around September 2023. So it does still exactly the same: verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, critical thinking, and analytical writing. But each section is shorter. There was an unscore section that helped them prepare new tests. Now that has been removed. The scheduled break was removed, so now there's no break. It's just 2 hours straight. And the scores will be delivered faster. It will only take from 8 to 10 calendar days. So if you take it on a Monday, by next Wednesday, you will have it. It's pretty fast compared to the previous version where it took like 15 days. Okay. These are the three sections. And you always start with analytical writing, so that's why I put it first. It measures critical thinking and analytical writing skills. The idea is for you to know how to write. If you're good at writing, which is not regular in Ecuador, because our programs usually do not require us to write a lot. Um, so if you're good at writing, it's going to be really good for this section. Is going to be easier for you. Okay, you still have to do some analysis. We're going to talk more about it, but in general, it is writing. You need to practice your writing. Okay, and the verbal reasoning, ability to analyze and draw conclusions, and I'll give you some examples, and then quantitative reasoning, where you do everything related to math and geometry. Okay, so it's all analysis. Arithmetic, algebra, geometry, data analysis, a little bit of statistics too. So the analytical writing section. It measures your ability to articulate complex ideas clearly and effectively, support ideas with relevant reasons and examples, sustain a well-focused, coherent discussion, and control the elements of a standard written English. Okay, so it requires you to provide focused responses based on the task presented, so you can accurately demonstrate your skill in directly responding to a task. It doesn't assess the specific content knowledge, which means that you don't have to know about the subject. That's not the idea. Oh, I didn't know about biology or I didn't know about history. No, it measures how well you can understand a task with the information presented and then write about it. Okay. It's just one section. So you will have 30 minutes and it's called Analyze an Issue Task. Okay, so it presents an opinion on an issue and it gives you instructions on how you have to respond. You are required to evaluate the issue, consider the complexities, and develop an argument with reasons and examples to support your views. Remember, these are facts. It's not only opinion like me parece, yo creo. No, you have to look at the facts. Okay. The word processor was developed by ETS. So basic functionalities, copy, paste, cut. It doesn't have spell checker and it doesn't have grammar checker. So that's something you have to handle. Okay, so if you're used to writing in Word and then letting Word correct you every time, it's a skill that you need to develop to correct yourself. Usually we recommend to leave at least 5 minutes at the end, like use 20 minutes to write. And it's a draft. You don't have to be perfect, but you need to write in like 20 minutes, 25, and then give yourself 5 minutes for proofreading, for editing, whatever you write. Okay, so that's very important. 30 minutes. It's at the beginning of the test. After 30 minutes, you're done with it, you go to the next section. Between sections, you have, I don't want to call them breaks, but little times to breathe, because you're reading the instructions, so you can stretch a little bit and, start the next section. Not necessarily fresh, but at least you change your pace. And then you could either get quantitative or verbal reasoning, but I'm going to start with verbal reasoning. So it measures several things: how you analyze and draw conclusions from discourse, how to select important points, how to distinguish from major to minor to irrelevant, how to summarize text, how do you understand the structure of a text, the meaning of individual words in the context of a sentence of the text, and understand relationships between words and concepts. So that's very, like, you have to know how to read, right? You have to know how to read complex information. That's very important. You have to understand these complex concepts and make them simple, or just understand what you're reading. It's 2 sections. I will talk about how many the time and how many questions you get per section later, but in general, you will have 2 sections. So you could get verbal, quantitative, verbal, quantitative. You could get verbal or quantitative first and then verbal, but you will have 2 sections, right? So, it assesses to analyze and evaluate written material and then synthesize information. That's very important. So whatever you're reading now, try to read academic material that you can practice with. Like if you tell me, oh, I only read novels or I only read poetry, that doesn't help. You need to read academic material. That's part of your practice from now on until you test. Um, these relationships among component parts of sentences, that's also very important. And you can do that in any academic test. And the relationships among words and concepts, once again, academic texts are the ones that you have to check. Um, so half of it requires you to read passages, and the other half requires you to read, interpret, and complete existing sentences or group of sentences or paragraphs, like kind of like drag and drop. So it's all, you don't have to write anything. You know, everything is going to be either multiple choice or drag and drop. But the idea is for you to read and be able to understand, right? So you have reading comprehension, text completion, and sentence equivalence. Those are the three kinds of questions that you will have between the verbal, like in the verbal reasoning, okay? And last but not least, quantitative reasoning, which is the cuco of a lot of people. Measures your ability to understand, interpret, and analyze quantitative information, solve problems using mathematical models, apply basic skills and elementary concepts of arithmetic, algebra, geometry, and data analysis. And it assesses your basic mathematical skills, understanding of elementary mathematical concepts, and your ability to reason quantitatively and to model and solve problems. Okay, it sounds complicated, but it's not. The idea of this is that it's high school algebra courses, introductory statistic courses. So whatever you saw in like first, second semester in university, that's what you're gonna be asked about. Or maybe, your senior year in high school. Everything, arithmetic, algebra, geometry, and data analysis is not that complicated. So they're not going to ask you trigonometry, calculus, higher level mathematics, inferential statistics. That's not what they're going to do. And I place that QR code for that link that is below, that ets.org, the GRE math review. It's a full document. You can review everything about the math that you're going to find inside the exam in that link. That's why I posted that QR. Okay. It, once again, two sections. We'll talk about number of questions and time in a little bit. So this is important, the section level adaptation. For verbal reasoning and for quantitative reasoning, there is an adaptative level, which means that if you answer correctly at the beginning, it's going to become harder and harder. And of course, your score is going to be better and better. If you messed up at the beginning, you're going to get easier questions, but your score is not going to be as high, right? And that's why you have two sections. So maybe in one of those sections, you mess it up at the beginning and you get easier questions. And then on the next one, you're going to get, once again, an X first question, and then maybe you can go higher, all right? So that's something you have to consider. Like, of course, try as hard as you can to answer correctly, but also consider that it is an adaptative test. So the easier it becomes might not be exactly the best news for you. Okay, if it is hard, it's good. Then these are the sections. Analytical writing is going to come first, always, all the time. 30 minutes, one essay, done. And then you start, and you can get either verbal, either quantitative. It's just a compute, it's a luck. Whatever you get, these are the questions. 12 questions, 18 minutes for the first verbal reasoning, 15 questions, 23 minutes for the second one. And then same thing, 12 questions, 21 minutes for the quantitative, and 15 questions, 26 minutes for the second one of quantitative reasoning. Okay. You are not allowed to bring a calculator with you, but there is a calculator policy that I will address a little bit later. Questions, Laura?
I'll try to put them in the chat, okay?
Okay.
So we have 3 of them. How can you evaluate the quality of your writing in the writing section?
That's a weird question. How can you like it gets a score by like that's not the one that you. How can you evaluate the quality of writing in the writing section? Is it reading papers about engineering to enhance reading skills, or what else do you recommend? Where can I get free practice this? Okay, so let's start with the beginning. You cannot evaluate your writing because you're writing and you're reading, so it doesn't make sense. You need someone else. Like for writing and for speaking, you need feedback from someone else. Give me just 1 second, please. So you do need someone else. You need feedback. You need to. I need a second. I'm sorry. So the second one, is it useful reading papers about engineering? Not if you're an engineer. If you're a lawyer and you read about laws every day, your knowledge is only about laws. If you're an engineer and you read about engineering every day, you just know your craft. You need to read something that is challenging. If you're a lawyer and you read about engineering, then maybe that's going to help your brain read about different subjects. That's it, same thing otherwise, right? So you need to read stuff that is challenging, that is not easy, that sometimes even feels boring because you truly don't know what you're going to get in the test. So read as much as you can different things from your craft. Your craft, you already know the meta language, you already know everything about it. You need to read something completely different. And then where can I get free GRE practice tests? We'll get to that in a little bit. Any other questions, or could I just go?
We have one more. Does the institutional test have the same structure and number of questions as the official one?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The answer is mixed because we're getting the new test, the new version of the test. And that's the idea from ETS, but they haven't confirmed if they're going to give us exactly the same. We don't have a confirmation yet. Like it's a very similar, but we don't know if it's going to be exactly the same. So that's up in the air. It's a very similar, but I don't know if it is exactly the same.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We can continue.
All right. So how to register for the institutional test? We have this QR code, and it will direct you to a forms on Google that you have to fill up. From previous conversations, we discovered that, I mean, some of you might want to take just the GRE institutional, some of you might want to take just TOEFL institutional, so it's going to be either or. You can choose both, you can choose one or the other. Okay, registration dates are the same and evaluation dates are the same. We're going to do evaluation from 8 to 12 in April, and then registration is open until March the 28th. All right, and then we'll report straight up to Fulbright, so you don't need to like request the report and then upload it. No, that's that in the institutional, we will report directly to Fulbright. Okay, we only are going to do online. There's not going to be like on-site testing this year. For the official test, you have to use this link. In this particular one, I like in TOEFL, I didn't talk about it, but in GRE, there are some candidates that are interested in taking the official. The only date available for the Fulbright application is going to be March 4th. Okay, so make sure you register with time. It's $220 plus IVA, and you register at ets.org/mygre. You create an account and you do everything, and then you finish. The process is done when you pay, right? And those results, because they're gonna take 10 days, it's going to be March 14, then those you have to upload in the application for Fulbright. Okay, so some of you might just take the official and be done with it. Remember that those you have to upload. That's the difference between the official and the institutional. The institutional, we will report to Fulbright. Okay. The technical requirements for the institutional test, Windows 8 or higher, Apple 10.7 or higher. You can use just one monitor, and then browser Safari. So that's not really complicated. You should clear your browser history and cache, and you should disable the pop-up blockers. It's not really complicated. You just need one computer. You don't need extra devices. You don't need anything else but the computer with the camera and either a headset or a microphone, whichever. So it's not that hard. Okay. Now, this is the calculator policy. You are provided with a basic on-screen calculator on the quantitative reasoning measure. And although the calculator can shorten the time it takes to perform computations, keep in mind that the calculator provides results that supplement but do not replace your knowledge of mathematics. So you cannot bring your own calculator. We have received those questions. We have received people in the center with their own calculators. You cannot use that, right? You can just use the one on screen. Very simple scientific calculator on screen. Number one. Number two, some of these problems are meant for you to think before you do the calculations. So think before you do that, right? It sounds regular, but not a lot of people do that. So read the problem, maybe draw or try to do something in your paper. You will have paper and pen and pencil. Sometimes that will give you the answer even before the calculator, because everything is multiple choice. The answers are going to be in front of you. So sometimes you don't even have to do the math perfectly. You just have to be like, oh, okay, I discard this, and then I choose between these two, and this one seems better than the other one, right? So the calculator is a tool, but use it as a tool, not as I don't have my because I have seen that. I've seen people with like, oh, I'm sorry, but it's just that my calculator helps me doing this or that. No, it doesn't help. Like it doesn't work like that. Okay. Then on test day, if you're taking the official, arrive at least 30 minutes before. You need to have your ID, either your cedula or your passport if you're not Ecuadorian. And you can add access with either your phone or a tablet or a calculator, nothing with you. And you should go to the restroom before the test. Same thing for the institutional. It's just that you connect 10 minutes before to the session. And you do need your ID because we're going to check it on screen. You do need to go to the restroom before you start the test because you're not going to be able to pause it, and you're not going to be able to have any other electronics with you. And I'm on questions, and I'm going to switch to Spanish just because I think it's going to be easier. Laura.
Sí, sí tengo una pregunta.
Ok.
Justamente en cuanto al tema de la... Perdón, te voy a leer en inglés porque nos pusieron en inglés. Returning to the verbal sentence evaluation. Reading comprehension, text completion, and sentence equivalence. Can you expand a little bit more or give an example on each, what exactly they evaluate?
No, I cannot. Look, GRE, it's a test. It's a complex test, okay? Mi idea en esta presentación era que ustedes vean que hay mucho material y mucho de ese material está en la página de ETS. ¿Ok? Voy a compartir la pantalla de ETS, pero de verdad hay muchísima información. Entonces, dado que es una evaluación de comprensión y de análisis, tienen que leer. Tienen que leer. Y para responder la pregunta primera, ¿dónde pueden encontrar esa información? Voy a compartir la pantalla de ETS donde pueden encontrar esa información, ¿ok? Pero no puedo explicar de una en una. Hay demasiada información como para hacerlo en detalle. Esta es la página de GRE, como pueden ver, ets.org/GRE. Van a escoger la opción de Test Taker porque esta es la opción de ustedes. Estamos hablando del GRE General Test y pueden ir a Learn More. Y ahí van a tener mucha información acerca del examen, test content, ¿no es cierto? Entonces van a poner el test content more. Y aquí están las tres opciones. Entonces, en el caso de verbal reasoning o de, por ejemplo, en el caso de verbal reasoning, van a darle clic a esa y en Prepare for the Test van a tener mucha de esta información. Entonces pueden bajar un PDF donde hay cada una y aquí tienen el detalle de cada una. Reading Comprehension es toda una hoja donde hay un montón de información y tienen que leer, hay multiple choice. Entonces, lamento no poder expandirme más, pero esa no era la idea de esta charla. La idea de esta charla es que ustedes conozcan que vamos a evaluar. Cada uno sabrá en qué se prepara o cómo se prepara. Con Fulbright, esta mañana conversamos acerca de hacer un curso corto muy general sobre las tres secciones y vamos a proponerles, una vez que armemos el curso, lamentablemente esta aprobación vino esta mañana, pero la idea es esa, o sea, hay mucho material que leer, como puedes ver, sigo haciendo scroll down, entonces hay mucha información en el Internet y una vez más, para volver a la primera pregunta, cuando creas tu cuenta oficial de GRE, hay una prueba gratuita y aquí, dentro de Prepare for the Test, vas a poder acceder a mucha de esa información, ¿ok? Entonces, en Prepare for the Test de GRE hay información de preparación gratuita. De hecho, incluso cuando crean su cuenta oficial, hay un test gratis que no es calificado, pero es gratis, donde pueden tomar el test y pueden saber cómo es. Entonces, es súper útil y es gratis. Simplemente tienen que crear su cuenta oficial de GRE y ya, es todo lo que necesitan hacer. Crear una cuenta oficial y tienen acceso, se llama My Test Prep Material. Entonces, esa es mi mejor recomendación. Hay información en Khan Academy. Si entran a Khan Academy, también van a encontrar información de GRE que les puede ser útil. Entonces, yo les recomiendo eso. Pero la idea de esta charla en particular no era enseñarles a responder las preguntas, era que conozcan qué es lo que se va a evaluar.
Gracias, Juan Carlos. También quisiera que nos recuerdes un poco acerca de, para las personas que ya han rendido su versión oficial, cuánto tiempo duran estos resultados.
GRE dura 2 años, ese es el tiempo que determina ETS y ustedes se van a poder fijar claramente cuando vayan e ingresen a su perfil que, o sea, si están dentro de los 2 años les va a dejar descargar, si ya pasaron más de 2 años, ya ni siquiera les deja descargar los resultados. Eh, Ellos consideran que el examen dura 2 años y así se maneja.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Tal vez, si nos puedes poner otra vez sí,
Sí.
el link, ajá,
Ajá.
el QR en donde
Entonces,
pueden ir al Google Forms.
sí, justo el QR que está ahí es del Google Forms. La idea era que ustedes puedan registrarse. Siempre pueden mandarme un WhatsApp, ahí está mi número de celular, es el que yo manejo para todo el tema del English House. Pueden mandarme un WhatsApp y encantado, les mando la información. Vamos a hacer el tema de armar el curso para marzo, queremos que sea un curso corto para las personas que quieren aprender de forma general acerca de las tres, sobre todo la sección de matemáticas, que es en la que más vemos que hay primero aprensión, porque hay gente que es como que, incluso yo me topaba con ingenieros, que es como que sí, sí, yo soy ingeniero, pero no me acuerdo. Y está bien, entonces el curso de matemáticas como que es un poco más solicitado. Eh, Eso, entonces me pueden mandar un WhatsApp o mandarme un correo electrónico y este QR es el que les va a llevar al forms que tienen que llenar para inscribirse en el examen institucional.
Listo, Juan Carlos, muchísimas gracias. No tenemos más preguntas, sin embargo, igual les dejo ahí, creo que es importante este QR para que puedan registrarse a los exámenes. Me imagino que Juan Carlos se comunicará también con las personas que se van inscribiendo para saber si están interesados en
Sí,
tomar el curso, que es lo que nos preguntan.
sí.
Y
Nosotros,
ujú,
perdón, Lau.
sí.
Nosotros, o sea, la idea es que todos los que están inscritos Primero que la idea del curso es hacerlo en marzo, para estar todos frescos, es decir, hacer el curso en marzo y dar los exámenes en abril, estar ahí muy cerquita de la acción. Y la idea es presentar la información después del feriado, ya teniendo un poco más claro qué vamos a plantear, entendiendo que es un curso general para todos, o sea, nosotros normalmente trabajamos con personalizados, entonces vamos a hacer un curso grupal que cubra todas estas áreas de forma general para que cada uno vaya escogiendo ahí lo que necesita.
Listo, Juan Carlos, muchísimas gracias. Nada más recordarles hasta qué fecha pueden inscribirse para que no se les pase.
Sí, a ver, voy a regresar a esta. Las inscripciones abiertas hasta marzo 28. Eh, Porfa, no se inscriban al último. Los que se hayan registrado entre febrero y hasta fines de febrero, vamos a hacer una toma en marzo. Igual ya tenemos aprobación de Fulbright para hacer una toma en marzo. Las personas que quieran adelantar, justo la semana de abril 12 tienen vacaciones o trabajo, lo que fuera, entonces vamos a adelantar, hacer una toma adelantada en marzo para esas personas. Y en términos generales es eso, o sea, no se registren, o sea, pasado el 28 de marzo ya no aceptamos inscripciones.
Listo. Muchísimas gracias, Juan Carlos, por la información.
Un gusto y cualquier cosa, vuelvo
Sí.
al slide de las preguntas, cualquier cosa ya saben, un WhatsApp o entran al English House, ahí están nuestros teléfonos, así que cualquier cosa, estamos a las órdenes.
Listo, muchísimas gracias a ti siempre por colaborar con nosotros y también a todas las personas que han estado atendiendo a este taller.
Gracias, Lau. Buena
Gracias.
tarde.